hate to burst your bubble, kid, but that ain't applause.
Phil? What do you call that thing?
Remember when your parents told you not to stick your hand in the electrical socket, and you did it anyway? Well, the first time I shocked myself, I thought to myself, that sucked, I'm not going to be doing that again. But it seems like Disney is like that autistic child that keeps sticking their finger in the electrical outlet, expecting rainbows of money to flow out. As if the Snow White debacle wasn't enough, new rumors are swirling around about yet another live-action remake in 1997's Hercules. But has Disney learned any lessons from its previous live-action remakes? Join me, dear viewer, as I dive back into the dumpster fire that is Disney. Last year, tons of YouTube channels got made when Disney decided to cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Channels like my boy Jesse Grant's channel covered the debacle extensively and grew as a result. The reason the Snow White remake was so reviled was, as we all know by now, Rachel Zegler's idiotic comments during the press tour for the film. Snow White was supposed to release in the spring of 2024, but was pushed back indefinitely because of the severe backlash it received when pictures from the set surfaced. Yeah, those pictures. The ones with the ambiguously diverse pansexual genderqueer friends instead of, the seven dwarves as in the original fairy tale and cartoon. And now Disney is at it again. Rumors have been swirling about the casting for the remake of the 1997 classic Hercules. The lazy race and gender swapping is strong with this one. Disney decided to race swap Hercules by casting Michael B. Jordan for the main role. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Michael B. Jordan. He's a fantastic actor. His acting in Black Panther was what gave that movie depth and personality. His portrayal of Adonis Creed in the Creed franchise was phenomenal. I could honestly say that each entry in the series was better than the last. So I've got no issue with Michael B. Jordan himself. Along with the YouTube community, I take issue with the laziness. Rather than making a solid movie with good story, good character development that explores the deep and historic Black and African culture, they decide to be lazy and race swap an existing legacy character. Today's Hollywood writers are complete hacks. They are either too lazy or too stupid to come up with an original idea. They have to rehash old stories and just race or gender swap the characters. This often leads to inferior versions of prior classics. Last summer's live-action remake of The Little Mermaid received a lot of flack for its lazy race swap. Again, I've got no issue with Halle Bailey. I think she's a great actress and can definitely carry a tune well. But the movie ended up being a much worse version of the original. Whereas the original was lively, fun, and colorful, the remake was boring, drab, and lifeless. The color palette for the underwater scenes was washed out. Meaningless scenes dragged on and on. The original movie was 89 minutes, a perfect length for a kid's movie. The remake clocked in at well over 2 hours. Much of the material could have been cut out because it added nothing to the plot and character development. Nerdrotic, The Critical Drinker, and Jesse Grant all like to harp on the lazy race and gender swapping going on in modern cinema. I do too. But it's time for Off the Cover to do what Off the Cover does and go deeper behind the scenes. In my Dark Age of Cinema series, I explored the dire problems with modern filmmaking, including the writing. In the third episode of the series, I talked about how the early 2000s saw a massive exodus of writers from the silver screen to the small screen. This wasn't all bad. We got shows like The Wire, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, among many others. It truly was the golden age of TV. But something happened around 2008 when things started to go downhill. Quality of movies drastically declined. And I have to keep asking this question over and over again. What was the last truly great comedy film you've seen? There hasn't been anything as funny as Tropic Thunder since, well, Tropic Thunder. The addition of woke ideology into filmmaking seems to have created a dearth in high-quality films. Studios went after the easy money. Actually, now that I think about it, it wasn't so much a factor of woke ideology affecting writing for TV and movies. It had some effect to be sure, but I think that the issue was born from the Federal Reserve and its easy money policies from 2008 to 2017. Money was cheap to borrow. Actually, it cost nothing to borrow money at large enough quantities. Times were good, so studios could afford to blow 2 or 300 million on a large movie because they could easily make their money back and didn't have to worry about interest. They didn't need to be cautious and carefully assess whether a project was viable. Money was cheap, and so the risk aversion went completely out the window. But now that the Fed has raised interest rates to more closely align with historical averages, companies and studios can't borrow money as easily. With tighter monetary policy by the federal government, studios now will have to carefully assess whether a project is viable and whether it can return a profit. So a company like Disney, if it continues going down this path of blowing hundreds of millions of dollars on lazy, unoriginal remakes with race and gender swapping, will lose even more money with the interest on the loans they take out to make these movies. Boy, I wouldn't want to be a Disney stockholder now. Disney making a race-swapped Hercules movie is just the latest example of what's wrong with Hollywood today. I actually feel bad for Michael B. Jordan because he will be the one to bear all the assault the online community will undoubtedly leash out as it did with Halle Bailey. But it's not his fault for shitty writing and lazy unoriginality. So I call on the YouTube community to make sure you don't bully this actor, as it's not his fault. By all means, unleash on Disney, who has become a soulless corporation that seemingly loves burning piles of cash like the Joker did. But what do you guys think of all this? Do you think Disney will release this remake of Hercules? Please do let me know down below in the comments, and as always, hit that like button, ring that notification bell, and smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.